departing, and I tell the story about having been in the woods and finding a place of my childhood, which was a complete lie. But one day I was driving on Sepulveda, and I saw a beautiful tree with some branches on the ground, and I pulled in and I picked up a magnificent walking stick. It was about so high, and I broke it off, and or maybe you broke it. I thought it would be a great prop for her to come back to town with. And you polished it up for me, and I asked for it when we finished shooting, but you said, no, I have to keep it.
And I got to tell you, as soon as I walked through the door, you know, Piper and I have done a couple of things after Twin Peaks together, and she turned to me and said, "Where's my walking stick?" And that was the first thing that came out of her mouth, almost, and it was great. And I go, "I don't know." So I told her I would look for it, but that was what we did on that show. We grabbed, and Frank would shoot and run. It was really fun working with Frank and all the directors, because our department, prop department, really gets a lot of attention. It's one of those things that are sort of to the side, but we are just involved in everything. And on Twin Peaks, we were really involved in everything. We used to do the smoke, we used to do the effects, we used to fireplaces. I mean, things that we could not do in this day and age on a set.
Did you find the llama that I asked for in the vet's office of the earlier episode?
A llama. Well, you know, I'm still looking for that.
The llama that hit its mark every time.
Are you the one who found the little Elvis for the motel scene?
Yes, the Elvis. Yes, the Elvis. And where, I can't even remember. We did, I think it was something from the first, we came in after the first season. We got hired when it was shooting in LA. So we never got the pleasure of working up there and working. So everything we did was on this side of it. And
we got the log.
yeah, the log.
I was going to ask who picked the log.
Well, the log was a thing from David, isn't that right, Mary? It was part of his family thing, and you tell the story, was it?
I don't know.
Yeah, his father.
His father worked all his life in the Forest Service, and wood and logs and the bugs that sit at the apical stem. I mean, there's a lot of conversation in that family about forestry and logs. So I don't know the genesis of actually where that log came from, but I do know that very log, because then it ended up in our house. There's an archive in the basement, and that log ended up there. So I don't know if his dad gave it to him. I'm not sure the specific of it. But,
he did lay a story on me though about all of that when he gave it to Rich and I to keep, and we had a blanket that was a special blanket that it was wrapped. I'm serious. And our lovely actress, what was her name? I'm so sorry.
Catherine Coulson,
yes,
the log lady.
She was. I have her card here, which is on this other little thing that's in the box here. This is a little thing. I had a restaurant for the last few years in Sedona, Arizona, and my restaurant's theme was motion pictures, and I had one television show that was represented in my restaurant, and it was Twin Peaks. And so I did a shadow box, and I actually have one of the recorders here, that the voice-activated one, and Log Lady's personal card that she signed off to us, and of course the book house patches and stuff. So there's a few prizes around here.
How can maybe Tim can weigh in on this too, but when actors have sort of specific things that they use, let's say Hank's domino or Ian Buchanan's cigarette holder, are those things that are specifically written in the script, or is that something that works out between the director, the actor, and the props team?
All of that. It's sometimes in the script. The director and the actor will say, "I want to have a cigarette holder," and he'll go to the director. The director says it's okay, then that gives me permission to give them choices to choose. You know what I mean? So then we'll go out and bring the actor and the director a number of different things to choose from, so that they can choose what they want, whether it's a cigarette holder, or it gets down to some actors like to carry stuff in their pockets that you will never ever see and they're the only ones that know that it's there, but they want it every day, which is great.
Well, I remember in the earlier episode there was a scene with Russ Tamblyn, and he was doing magic tricks with balls, right?
Ping pong balls.
And I think that's pretty much was Russ Tamblyn, and he just said, "I can do this,"
That's exactly how it happened.
and we worked it out. And then he had these glasses with different colored lenses. Also, I assume that he just worked that out with the wardrobe department, and that was
Is he the one who had cotton balls sticking out of his ears?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, everybody was freely encouraged to stretch on the show, and it was quite remarkable how free everybody felt to just to try stuff and to do stuff.
Yeah, that's what was great about the show. I mean, everybody. I mean, camera. I mean, there was no place I felt where there was any kind of the way it feels today, as you guys all know and ladies know that what it's like on a set today for episodic television, and it's like FM radio. It's really that in the old days. Twin Peaks was.
I mean, Frank, we talked for 2 seconds, and we were both talking about the scene with the sprinkler system, and we're on a set, basically, and they had built a trough around the set with drainage and plastic sheeting to catch the water, and we went all night on that damn thing, as I recall. I don't think I've ever spent a longer night on a TV show, but you were, actually encouraged to do it on Twin Peaks. It's inconceivable in the business now. You can't go 20 minutes over on a TV show now. It was just a completely different atmosphere, and what they were trying to do, and they giving you the leeway and the time to do it.
Tim, the very ending of the scene that the episode that we watched, not the sequence in the woods, but Leland's death. I mean, it ends on a kind of a tender note, and I'm curious to know what those decisions were that you would have this character who is at this point revealed to have murdered his daughter and other characters, to then to sort of switch the tone of that episode to end on that kind of a note. What did you discuss with Mark and David in terms of how that should end?
I don't think I discussed much of anything, but certainly not with David, who was off working on the next episode. When David came, everybody knew when David was coming to do an episode, but nobody saw much of David, while he was off. So you didn't know what the script was going to be. When you just knew that David was going to come in and do a David Lynch episode, and so he was off working on whatever the next show was. Mark was around much more, but I doubt we would have discussed something like that. I remember, I kind of remember pushing it in that direction toward the end, because I thought that it had to end with a kind of grace, as awful as it was, and that you had to give it to the character. I tend to advocate for my characters anyway, no matter how ghastly they are, and also I think the music had a lot to do with it, and probably the person who had the most to do with it was Ray Wise, who I just sort of let him go, basically, in these long takes that we were talking about. I think it's some of the best work Ray's ever done in this episode. But no, I noticed that also watching it for the first time in 20 odd years. I do think that the Ray and the music have a lot to do with it, plus whatever I contributed.
Mary, maybe you can speak on this, but the revelation that this is in fact a father murdering, who's murdered his daughter, brings an even, I think, more disturbing note to this whole disturbing story. what was the sort of reaction that you got in general from the network that aired it? Did you hear anything about like this is really disturbing material? Was there any sense that it was too disturbing to put on TV?
You know, I wasn't privy to the conversations, you know, between ABC and David about that, but I can say that I don't have any recollection of them coming back with a lot of notes to change, particularly the scene where he's beating her in the living room, and that's, you know, the disturbing quality of it has to do with the, you know, the kind of prolongation of the whole event, and the, you know, and obviously, you know, slowing it down and switching it to Bob and, you know, the actors from Frank to Ray, and you know, the really horrifying sound, so that, you know, you don't actually see that much graphic violence, but you certainly, you know, it's really powerful watching it, you know, today, like you, Tim, for the first time in a long time. You know, he hits her 3 times and then he runs her into the wall. So that's the sum total of the you know, the actual, but it's really disturbing each time. So they did not come back and tell us. I mean, you know, we all said, and I know that there was conversations about it. We all said at the time, and we all said when it came out, along with everybody else, I can't believe we got that on network television. Not that we were trying to pull anything, it was just like, this is the scene as we wanted it to be. And, you know, they had conversations about it, and David basically did it. Because I, you know, again, I don't have a totally sharp memory, but I don't remember them coming back and saying, you know, we didn't have 15 punches that were reduced to 3. I don't remember cutting it down significantly at all, or cutting a bunch out. It was very hard to, you know, that was like a dance, that whole thing. And you know, and Grace crawling down the stairs, and, you know, all the business in the mirror. It was a very long going on and on kind of thing.
Well, we talked a lot last week about the decisions that were made by ABC and sort of how to handle, or how they wanted to handle, getting this storyline resolved. I'm curious, since Twin Peaks had such a cult following, what was the fan base audience response to the revelation?
I don't remember that either. I mean, the big power struggle. You do?
Yeah, I do, Mary. They were actually talking quite early on about canceling the show, especially after just the first short season. And the word got out in the fan base that might happen, and it was, you know, this was before Twitter, way before Twitter, and they somehow around the country all got together and wrote to, you know, thousands and thousands of letters to ABC saying, do not cancel our show. And I actually think that the fans, you guys, although probably your parents, were more responsible for the thing at least going on for another year. Now, what you said, Alex, a little earlier about ABC sticking their nose in things. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's the scene where the cops catch up with me in the motel, and I just come out of the shower. Have you seen that yet?
It's the first season.
The thing was scripted that I'm hiding behind an armoire with just a towel around my waist, and the cops come in and say, keep both hands where we can see them. And I come out like this, exposing, you know, the bare chest, and the ABC guy said, we cannot do this. We have never shown an amputee on television, and we're not about ready to do it now. And I said, well, I could probably, you know, pretend I took a shower in my t-shirt. And the ABC guy said, oh, great, let's do that.